Hello and welcome to today's episode. I am Mucyo Balinda, your host, and today we're diving into one of the most dramatic shifts in American politics, the transformation of the GOP. The grand old party as we once knew it is dead, replaced by the surging MAGA movement. But what happens to the disavowed Republicans who don't fit into this new mold? Where do they go? And what does their future hold? Stay with me as we unpack these questions and explore the cultural, and political implications of a fractured Republican Party. This is a conversation you don't want to miss.
Feel the rhythm, hear the beat, cultural pulse where we all meet. Together we rise, united and strong. In every word we find where we belong.
I've been thinking a lot about Kamala Harris and the idea of her embracing Republicans, especially given the current political climate. Not too long ago, I was floating the idea of having names like Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, or Adam Kinzinger as a potential running mates. That would have been a wild ticket, right? Two people from such different ends of the spectrum, especially when you consider where the Republican Party has been in recent years. Yet, more recently, she mentioned she would be open to having a Republican in her cabinet. And that got me wondering, was she just saying that to sound good, or is it something she'd actually do? Honestly, I think she could really mean it. When you look back in history, this kind of bipartisan outreach isn't totally unheard of. Remember when Obama chose Robert Gates, a Republican, as his Secretary of Defense? Or even when Lincoln, a Republican, had Democrats in his cabinet during the Civil War? It's not impossible, but the stakes usually have to be incredibly high. And in today's divisive climate, it would be seen as a huge step toward unity. And let's be real, the stakes right now are pretty high, politically, socially, and culturally. But let's not pretend like this would be easy or widely accepted. The idea of Kamala Harris teaming up with someone like Liz Cheney is to most people unthinkable. Their politics, their worldview, their supporters, everything is so far apart. But that's the thing, right? Sometimes when the stakes are high, when the country feels so fractured, the unimaginable becomes imaginable. The real question is, will Kamala actually do it? I think it depends. Right now, Republicans aren't exactly embracing her in the sense of supporting her policies. Sure, some like Cheney or Kinzinger have been vocal about their opposition to Trumpism, but they're still Republicans with very different ideas from Harris on a range of issues. So, would she take that leap? In my opinion, it might be less about embracing Republicans and more about finding a way to bridge the gap. Appointing a Republican to her cabinet could send a signal that she's serious about governing beyond party lines. But it would also be a risky move, and it would have to be someone who, despite their party affiliation, shares a broader vision for the country. In the end, I'm not sure if Kamala will embrace Republicans, but she might reach out her hand in an effort to show that she's willing to work with people on the other side. It could be a strategic, high-stake gamble because, let's face it, our political moment feels like a high-stake game right now. And if she's serious about mending the divides, she might just make the unimaginable a reality. But whether Republicans fully embrace her in return, that's a whole different story. You know, the unimaginable has already happened. Liz Cheney, of all people, has embraced Kamala Harris and even promised to campaign for her. Who would have thought that 10 years ago? It's an alliance that no one could have foreseen. Yet, here we are. And it's not just Liz. Her father, Dick Cheney, has also promised to vote for Harris. That's wild. This moment shouldn't be taken for granted. It's a sign that something bigger is at play, something that could reshape the political landscape in ways we never imagined. Democrats really need to think big and seize this moment. If they want to be the party of the 21st century, they will need to make some serious adjustments to their governance. The fact is, there are Republicans out there right now who have no political home, and the Democrats have an opportunity to make room for them. The GOP, as we want to do it, may not come back. The Democrats will need to carve out a space for those who refuse to surrender to the MAGA movement. But that's only going to happen if they are willing to move to the middle of the spectrum. This isn't about abandoning progressive values. It's about recognizing that in this fractured moment, unity might require some compromise. By moving toward the center, Democrats could build a broader coalition that includes these disaffected Republicans. That could be the key to not just winning elections, but to actually governing in a way that brings the country together. This alliance with people like Liz Cheney is a signal. Now, it's up to the Democrats to decide if they're ready to meet the moment. Sometimes, situations call upon us to make adjustments, and I think Kamala Harris, if elected, would be facing one of those moments. In a normal situation, she would probably lean into that progressive agenda, pushing for big changes on issues like healthcare, climate, racial justice, the things that her base really wants. But let's be real, these aren't normal times. The country is more divided than ever, and governing from the far left might not be the best approach to unify us. So, here's the dilemma. Will she stick with her base, or will she seize the moment and move toward the center with the aim of bringing people together? Personally, I think it would make more sense to move to the center right now. If the goal is to unify the country, it's going to take compromise, reaching out and putting our collective energy into rebuilding trust across political lines. But then, the base, her most loyal supporters, want her to stick to that progressive platform. They've been pushing for this agenda for years, and I can't imagine they would be happy if she suddenly shifts to the middle. That's the tricky part. She'll have to balance listening to her base with a broader need to heal the country. And maybe that means making some adjustments, taking a step back from the far left policies, and instead focusing on what can bring us together. The stakes are high, and in a moment like this, governing from the center might be what's needed to unify a fractured nation. The question is, will she be willing to make that move? Or will she feel more pressure to stick with the base that got her there? That's what we'll have to watch for.